the latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Hope to be with you soon. We are the only ones that can actually fight for our freedom. And if we want people to take us serious as a race, we need to act and not only speak. We have spoken for years and years. But because we do not take any action, that is the reason to which other people do not see the necessity in giving us what we are demanding for. Like Captain Ibrahim Traore said, freedom is not given. We need to fight for it. And a slave that do not rebel doesn't need any pity. If actually Africa is looking for liberation, we should move away from speech to action. UN is celebrating its 8th whatever, and the African leaders are there with speeches again. They are fighting for equal representation because we cannot have this large number and yet our voices are not heard. So they want UN to treat us fairly. The Africa, we have suffered enough, talking every blessed day, asking them to give us what we actually demand, but they are not giving it to us. Like Dr. Arikana said, this organization wasn't created for the African. That is the reason to which when we get there, we only vote on issues pertaining to these people. So we are only going there to help other people gain what they are looking for. And this is what Africa we must fight against. If our leaders actually and truly want these people to give us what we are looking for, then we have to start fighting.
When the UN was founded in 1945, most of Africa had no voice. Today, Africa remains the only continent without permanent representation, despite African issues dominating the Council's agenda. This exclusion, a relic of bygone era, is a profound injustice. Decisions about Africa must no longer be taken without Africa. 80 years after the establishment of the United Nations, the Security Council still operates under a structure that excludes Africa. This not only undermines the Council's credibility, but also challenges the universality of the UN as a whole. Today, therefore, I must restate Africa's clear and legitimate demand. To the permanent members, I reiterate that recognition should be accompanied by a genuine political willingness to take action. To member states involved in the intergovernmental negotiations, let us use the structured dialogue to build consensus on outcomes rather than recycle entrenched positions. To the wider United Nations membership, as the UN marks its 80th anniversary, let us not allow another milestone to pass with words alone. The Pact for the Future gives us the mandate. The Africa reform model adopted by C10, rooted in Eswatini and SAT common African position, provides the blueprint for reform. The momentum is here. The time for action is now. Africa will continue to engage constructively. Let there be no doubt. Our demand is legitimate, non-negotiable, and just. Equal representation for Africa is not only an African imperative, it is a global necessity. It is essential for the credibility, effectiveness, and legitimacy of the United Nations in this century. As we commemorate 20 years of Eswatini and SAT, let history record that Africa stood together firm and resolute to reclaim its rightful place. Let this generation of leaders be remembered for correcting an injustice that has been endured for far too long, and for ensuring that the Security Council reflects the current state of the world rather than how it was in 1945. Thank you for your attention. And I invite Her Excellency Netumbo Nandi Daiwa, President of Namibia.
Thank you, Your Excellency Julius Maad Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and Coordinator of the African Union Committee of 10, Heads of State and Government on the United Nations Security Council reform, Your Excellency João Manuel Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union, Chairperson of the African Union, Your Excellencies, Heads of States, ladies and gentlemen. 20 years ago, African leaders have agreed and adopted the African Common Position on the reform of the UN Security Council, thus become a roadmap, well-known document as Wiener Consensus and the Sales Declaration. Subsequently, a committee of 10 heads of state and government of the AU was set up to spearhead the African Common Position. Today, we are here to reflect on the work we have started 20 years ago. Those pivotal documents, born from our collective desire and unwavering commitment to Africa's progress and unity, have played an instrumental role in further shaping our continent's vision to being a dynamic force in the global arena. Your Excellencies, the 8th anniversary of the United Nations is an opportune time for us to reflect on the values and the principles upon which this organization is grounded. Our repeated call for a united nation that is fit for purpose, representatives and reflects of a present-day reality has become imperative. Africa deserves permanency at all global decision forums, especially those seized with making decisions related to the maintenance of international peace and security. For 2 decades, the Common African Position has gained traction with broader support from many interested groups. This is our reminder that our quest to redress historical injustice and advance equality for a more inclusive and representative Security Council is just and commonly shared. Allow me to acknowledge with gratitude the immense support from all interested groups for the Common Africa Position, which culminated in the recognition of Africa as a priority and a special case in the reform process, as reflected in the outcome document of relevant United Nations process, including the PEC for the future. While the reform process continues, Africa should be proud to have sustained a unified voice within the intergovernmental negotiation since the inception of this process. As we prepare to submit the Africa model on UN reform, we call on the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council to lend their support to us, to stand on the right side of history, and to ensure justice for future generations. Africa is not asking for handouts. We are demanding our rightful place in a council that is tasked with the maintenance of international peace and security. a matter that greatly concerned us, our children, and our children's children. Chairperson, as I conclude, I wish to state that 2025 also marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Conference on Women and the 25th anniversary of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. Therefore, as Africa strives for equal representation in the world's premier peace and security body, we must also ensure that African women and women from other parts of the world are equally participating in important peace and security decision-making platform at the national, sub-regional, continental, and international level. I will not end without thanking Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for the great leadership you have provided to the C10 as a coordinator over the years. Your leadership is highly commendable and is bearing fruits for Africa. I thank you.
I thank my dear sister. We now go to the Vice President of Equatorial Guinea. You have the floor, please.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I take the floor on behalf and in representation of His Excellency Obiang Sogo, President of Equatorial Guinea, to express our acknowledgement of your in your position as a coordinator of the C10, your leadership, your strong commitment defending the common African position within the reforms of the Security Council. We'd like to thank you for the initiative of gathering this summit during the high-level General Assembly week. Today we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Sirte Declaration and of the Esloveni Council, two historical instruments that shaped the common African position on the reform of the Security Council. After 2 decades, it shows strongly the soundness of our unity and the fairness of our demands in the global agenda. While it is true that throughout these 20 years, the African position is well known, it has greater and greater support. We mustn't forget that while we're celebrating the 80th anniversary of the UN, the historic injustice against Africa persists. It is important to point that out because while we reiterate the values defended in the Charter of the UN, the African continent, with its geopolitical importance, its population, and contributions to peace and security, continue to be excluded from permanent membership in the Security Council. So it is not well represented as a non-permanent member. This undermines the legitimacy and credibility and efficiency of the UN. Mr. Chairman, the 80th anniversary of the UN is a critical crossroad to promote the international commitment in view of the Compact for the Future, which says that Africa must be recognized as a special case and as a priority in the process of the reform of the Security Council. It is essential for us to now present and defend the AU model on the reforms of the Council while we have intergovernmental negotiations. We must promote this reform process. It is necessary. We don't need to reiterate our position. The future of the UN depends on its capacity to transform and respond to current reality. A Security Council that continues to exclude the African continent cannot speak with moral authority in today's world. The African Union's model on the Security Council reform is the only model that guarantees equity, corrects the exclusion, strengthens the legitimacy of the Security Council. Just to conclude, I would like to briefly point out that if we continue, if the reform continues on these endless debates about whether Africa deserves or not its place as a permanent member, and an inadequate representation as non-permanent, then the process runs the risk of losing its credibility and purpose. How many more declarations, pacts, results must we have repeating what we've known for so long? Africans' exclusion constitutes an injustice. Before taking concrete steps, how many more intergovernmental negotiations must we have? We cannot reach 100 years of these organizations and celebrate that if this injustice persists. Our voice must be high and clear. We cannot continue to accept to have these perpetual debates that end up in just no tangible recognition. Thank you very much.
I thank the Vice President for his intervention. I now give the floor to the Vice President of Uganda. You have the floor, please.
Your Excellency Manuel Lorenzo, President of Angola and Chair of the African Union, Your Excellency Mada Bio, President of Sierra Leone and Coordinator of the C10 and also Chair of this session, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, the Chairperson of the African Union, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Your Excellency Dr. Julius Mada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for convening this 7th summit of the Committee of 10 African Union Heads of State and Government on the reform of the United Nations Security Council at this important time when we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. I also express deep appreciation to Your Excellency Mada Bio as the coordinator of the C10 and the entire leadership of the government of the Republic of Sierra Leone for the unwavering commitment to advancing the common African position on the reform of the United Nations Security Council since its adoption in 2005 and for keeping Africa solidly united. There is no doubt that the C10 has made significant progress in promoting, advocating and canvassing for the support of the common African position through diplomatic engagements with several relevant stakeholders and interest groups within the intergovernmental negotiation frameworks and other multilateral levels.
We asked for this thing for several years, calmly, and nothing is happening. The same UN Security Council that said if they should give us a veto power, it will make the council dysfunctional, is operating in Africa. They will never become dysfunctional when they are working on the land of Africa, but it will become dysfunctional the moment we are given a veto power. So why do we allow UN, which is refusing to give us a veto power as we are demanding for, to have a place in Africa to live here and operate? Because they can no longer sustain whatsoever in the United States of America. Africa has become its abode. We will fund this organization, use the resources that we have to take care of this organization, yet our voices are not heard. Yet we are not properly represented. If truly Africans, we are serious as a people, would we allow UN to have a place in Africa, in Kenya, to operate? Why didn't we demand that we get the veto power before we can allow this organization to be on the soil of Africa? Why do we even need to be in this organization? Why can't we have our own to deal with the affairs of Africa? Must we always allow these people to do whatever they decide of the African? Are we children in this 21st century to be regulated as if we are still slaves, even though we are slaves, but we don't know that we are slaves? And the same people that are calling for equal representation are the same ones that are fighting their brothers for rising to fight for total liberation. Because we believe that paper freedom that we have, the African is not free. And that is why other people even sit outside of the continent to determine the prices of our resources. People come here and buy them cheap. We don't have any authority. And that is why even when they are giving us things or imposing things that we don't like, they give us sanctions because we don't have a say. We need to start fighting for things that we want. And like Dr. Arikana said, why do we need to be part of this organization that is a new form of colonization? Can't we take control over things without this people being involved or without being part of whatever systems that they've created? It is the African that can set the African free. We will never get the freedom on a silver platter. If we actually want these people to give us what we want, let's start following the steps of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Let's unite instead of fighting against them. Let's echo what Captain Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goïta, Abdurrahmane Chiani have been saying. And they are not just saying it, but they act. So enough of the speech. We have been hearing this all these years. We are fed up with the speech. We want actions from our leaders. Give us that which we rightfully deserve as Africans. Enough of the second-class treatment. Start acting and rising to fight for what we want and not pleading for what we want. We are not less to these people. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world and in Africa.